Leo, can we have too much technology in a car?
So that's the topic today?
In a way.
Okay. I think you can never have too much technology. The idea is to go fast.
Okay.
Make the car work at its ultimate level.
Okay.
If you give me the tools to help me do that,
okay,
that should be a good thing.
Well, one of the most sought out and most commented topics on Fast Lane Daily is manual versus automatic / dual clutch paddles.
I got beat up for reviewing the Cadillac CTS-V and saying, if this was a leading edge car, why does it still have a floor shift? I want paddles. Is that what you're talking about? Yes. All right. And more, right? TC and...
We hope.
Okay.
We hope.
Today on...
I think it's the Road Testament, but... It's no secret that I'm an aviation buff and I love the discussion of airplanes and technology. I think everyone at this point knows this. One of the most interesting stories that came out in the past 2 weeks was the facts and the voice recordings from Air France Flight 447 that crashed in the Atlantic Ocean.
You read it, I scanned it, but I think the sad part is how technology factored into what the pilots...
It was pilot error, and the pilots assuming that the technology would save them. And in fact...
I love where you're going.
Because it did not.
And
so that leads us to cars. You know, a lot of people, well, let's look at the Concorde, for example. A lot of the technology that came from the Concorde ended up in cars. We look at where the industry is going. There's a lot of shared resources. You look at the Boeing 787, the carbon fiber development, and the technology that has actually been traded between the two industries.
Okay, Chuck Yeager, land the plane.
Okay.
How about this?
Okay, yes.
What I understand about fly-by-wire says that the computer kind of assists the pilot to make the technology work.
Exactly, yes.
How about this? The question is, how much technology gets in the car where you're no longer driving?
Yes.
Now, I like technology in the car, but if it muffles the feel or mutes it, or allows me not to feel where the slip angle is or where the grip, or I hit the brake on ABS and I can't feel what's happening with that coefficient of friction or whatever, then I got a problem with technology. But if it's helping me go quick and quicker, so where do you follow with this?
Well, let's first start off with every car that's sold in the United States at this point must come with ABS, must come with traction control, and coming soon, and this is more of a safety feature, must come with the tire pressure monitoring systems, which is still technology that has some place in the only contact patch on the road.
Okay, but that's safety versus driving. The other two are driving related.
Exactly. Age, whatever it may be. Now, I want to bring up an example of the BMW 1M. The 1M has, and several cars have this, I'm not just saying just the 1M has this, you have traction control completely off, you have M dynamic mode, which can switch it half off, and then you have it fully on. M dynamic mode is this middle ground where it allows you to have more slip angle and will hold the car in a certain place. Ferrari has this, all these other cars have this, but MDM is the most basic form of a middle ground. And when I got into the 1M on a wet track, it was very easy to drive. And I felt like I could do no wrong, and it would save me no matter what.
Okay.
Now, that's an example in my mind of giving you a false sense of security. Because if you get into an older car, and people may think that if they only drove in a 1M on the edge and then get in something much less, I don't want to say reliable, but much less expected, they're going to crash the car.
Well, I think there are two things. First of all, let's draw a line of demarcation.
Okay.
There's the average driver that commutes and uses the car that way, and there's the enthusiast driver. Yeah. And I'm sure that the TC and ABS are safety features that will save more people than not.
Yes.
But as an enthusiast, there's that element of road feel. And the 1M example you kind of gave kind of gets to the piece that I fear we're losing. You talked about how you could slide the car out and drift it by just holding your foot down.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. There was no modulation. There was no feel of the gas balancing the car. And people talk about paddle shifting and hating it because in the old days with the clutch and heel and toe, you'd have to match revs and make the smooth transition from power and even downshifting. If those skills get lost, that ability to modulate, to balance the car with the input, I think that gets us into trouble. Because if you don't know how to feel for the limit, then you're right. At some point in time, like Air France, the technology will take you to a limit that you don't know you're getting at.
Exactly.
Or you'll assume it's going to protect you.
And it doesn't.
And if you go flat into the corner and it doesn't, problem.
The problem with the, well, let's bring up...
Now, I like the technology when it has that feel. You've driven a hell of a lot more cars than I have. And that's the truth of me living in the city and abandoning my car 10 years ago. But When I get in a car, the first thing I feel for is, does the technology allow me to have that feel or not? Everyone beats up the GTR for being this machine.
It's a video game.
Without feeling.
Yeah.
Okay. The truth is, there is that sensation. You have to work hard to find it, but it's there.
It's at the very end of the limit.
And it's muted. It is muted.
Okay.
You get in a Lotus, and if you adjust all the controls that are still in that car too, but you can feel the car do its thing. You can understand the dynamics. So creeping up on it is easy. To go fast quicker is really easy. But more importantly, knowing where the limit is a sensation that is still there in the Lotus.
I used to be of the mindset of I want a manual transmission because I want to have the feel and I don't like these technologies. But I've come to your side of the equation and I've said, you're right. These things will help us, and it's more about understanding both sides of the equation.
Well, and this is where I'm going to beat my own argument.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I always look at driving as how quick can I go. So on a racetrack, there's no way that I wouldn't want anything but a paddle shift. It allows me to focus on driving the car faster. But I can understand that country day, top down, beautiful
PCH
back road.
Yeah.
And doing the manual shifting and matching revs and having that fun. It's a different skill for a different situation, and I would enjoy that. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't mind driving an old car, race car, on the racetrack.
Okay.
But if I'm there to go quick,
Yeah.
and the technology like paddle shift is available,
Yeah.
I want my CTSV to have the paddles.
Do you think it's a problem when most of the cars out there are going to have this technology and we're going to lose the talent of driving a manual transmission properly? Do you think it's necessary that, for example, people even had gone as far as saying you need to learn how to drive a manual transmission for your driver's test along with an automatic?
I'm all for the feeling of driver feel. And I'm going to use this bad example, which may not be true, but I'll spin it my way. What if we found out that Vettel is more sensitive with the controls and able to launch his Red Bull better than Weber, who's depending on the computer tools to get him off the launch?
That's more of a sensation and an emotional feel, though. I don't think
there's a physical
because they
dynamic
have in the cockpit they have the same tools. Both cars have the same tools.
I suggest
that could be a personality thing.
I suggest there's a dynamic feel that if you're sensitive to what the car is doing, rather than just depending on the technology, you'll launch better versus go Air France.
Yeah.
And I'm not picking on Weber. This probably isn't true, but I'm just using that as a comparative example.
All right. I think that's where we'll leave it today. Leave your comments below. Are the tools good for us?